often meet small business owners who are frustrated because they see the prices of hiring a full-time software developer. They know it's not that hard, but it's not something they have experience with, and it's terrifying to take that first big step of, I want to learn to code.
Hi, Coach Tony here from Coach.me to introduce you to Sara Chips, a really amazing coach with a package that focuses on teaching you to code so that you can launch a web business. Sara, hello, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You know, people are going to want to hear about you, but first I want to hear about the people that you've coached and what they were looking to accomplish, and then maybe some stories of what they actually did accomplish.
That's a great question. So I've been working with people that are new to coding since 2010, so almost 8 years now. I've often thought that people make coding sound really hard, and there are parts of coding that are very hard, but lots of it is really not if you focus on it. And so I've been working with beginners or people that have a little experience, taken some online classes, that kind of thing. And what I've done with them is lots of them have switched careers. So I've worked with a lot of people who wanted to become full-time software developers. And I've helped them to, learn how to code, interview, and find jobs as well. So that's been the focus of most of what I've done, but I've also worked with small business owners as I meet them often. I often meet small business owners who are frustrated because they see the prices of hiring a full-time software developer. They know it's not that hard, but it's not something they have experience with, and it's terrifying to take that first big step of, I want to learn to code. So I worked with people that have anything from wanted to publish an online magazine, which is something that I've worked with someone on, and they've built a large community around their online magazine. It's still running today. It's been about 5 years, as well as help people take their business from Etsy, build a website around it, set up e-commerce, and sell their products on their own website as well as Etsy, and therefore growing their revenues like that. I've also worked with people that have wanted to build apps, especially apps that have social elements. Like I was just working with someone on building an app to track fantasy hockey teams
Right.
and different things like that. So those are the fun things, the fun industries I get to see inside of while I'm working with people.
How did you get into this role of teaching people to code? What is your experience and background here?
Yeah, so I've been coding for 16 years now professionally. I went to Penn State for computer science, and then I started working at big companies, and then transitioned over to startups and managing engineering teams. In 2010, I started a nonprofit called Girl Develop It that teaches adult women how to code. One thing that I had talked with a lot of my friends about is often in our computer science classes, we were nervous about asking questions because we were afraid there are things that we should already know. And I think as adults, we feel that it's really scary to ask about something you don't know, or embark on learning this whole new thing, because we're supposed to just know things. Compared to when you're a kid and you're allowed to ask all the time. So we wanted to create an environment where people could just ask whatever stupid questions they wanted about coding while teaching them to code. And we started that here in New York. And it grew. In the first year, we grew to 3 cities, and now Girl Develop It is in over almost 60 cities, and have taught almost 100,000 women how to code in in-person classes. So that's when I first started working with beginners, and I've just really enjoyed it. I've worked with people from all age groups, all backgrounds. It's just such a privilege and a neat experience.
So when a beginner comes to you and says they want to learn to code, what are the big milestones along the way as they learn and get coached and trained? And what challenges do they need to overcome?
The first things I ask are, first of all, what have you done in the past? Like, what is your familiarity? Are you someone who has done some work in Microsoft Word and that's it? Or are you someone that has maybe made a small website or taken some online classes and dabbled in it a little bit and, want to take it to the next level? And then my next question is, what is the thing that you want to build? Because the best thing to do, there's learning how to code, but having a goal in mind is always best, because then we can take your goal and work backwards. So I think it's important that people come to this with some patience for the fact that they're learning a new skill. And so often when it comes to projects, we talk about, here's the most important part of the project. Here's the stuff we can't live without, and here's the stuff we're going to add after we publish it, or after we, send it out into the world. And then we start from there and sit down, determine the technologies they're going to work with, and then, depending on where they are, take it from there.
Okay, so then as they go through it, do they have big epiphanies along the way, or do they have like moments of severe self-doubt? Like, what does that look like after the kickoff and they're really deep into it?
I think the big thing that every new coder faces is the place they get stuck, the first time you're stuck. And this is the time that this is why I think coaching is very important and helpful, because this is where everyone drops off. Whether it's the first time or the third time, when people sit there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, trying to figure out a problem and they can't do it, the first place your mind goes to is, am I just not cut out for this? Or is this just really hard? And and this is something that maybe I don't have the skills for. And so what is beneficial about coaching is you get to talk to someone who could tell you, man, we all sit there. Like, I've been doing this for 16 years and I still have problems that take me hours and hours to fix. They're just harder problems. Those things never go away. And part of being a coder and part of building things is just, making it through that one and going on to the next one. So I think the big epiphany, I think a big thing that people realize is that's just part of it. No one is destined to be a coder. No one is born with I'm going to be the best coder because my brain is a certain way. It's often just, this is how, people that have that perseverance.
Right. I mean, we're talking about small business people who are making the decision between hiring programmers, which, as you say, can be very, very expensive, versus just learning themselves. And they have a project in mind, and in that way, it's very worthwhile to work with a coach. I mean, there's a ROI because there's a business to it. So tell me how you're thinking about this coaching package, how you think it'll work. What are the steps along the way of this particular package?
So I think the first thing is coming up with a learning program and a timeline with milestones and goals. So our first session will be sitting down, talking about what is your experience with coding so far? What do you want to build? And what kind of timeline do you have? And we can sit down and talk about what's possible in that timeline. Some other information that's relevant is how much time do you have to devote to this? If you have a small business, sometimes you're busy, so it just might be a couple hours a week. Or, if this is something that you want to get off the ground quickly, it means more time on your part. And then figuring out what our milestones are and what our touch bases are going to be along the way. So coming up with a custom curriculum. And that would be online classes that we can circle back at the end, talk about any questions that that you might have, and going through anything that has been built in the process. So and then we can work together on building your project and getting it out there in the world.
So when you say work together, do you actually look at people's code?
Yeah, I think pair programming is really huge, especially when you're a beginner and you're stuck. I don't like giving. There's definitely times where I give people the answer, right? But it's so much better when I can show someone how to find the answer, right? Because you're always going to hit those problems, and if you know, like the goal is to not need me anymore, right? Like this isn't a relationship for the rest of your life. This is just a relationship to get you familiar with the process and give you the knowledge that you need in order to build whatever product that you want to build and maintain it. So the idea is to make me irrelevant as soon as possible. So if I can sit and work with you and show you how to arrive at the answer, that's so much better than me giving you the answer every time. So often, and most of the time, we're sitting down, we're pair programming, you're sharing your screen, and we're talking through the decisions as you make them.
Sara, this is perfect. This is the exact explanation I wanted to be able to give people that are in this situation. I think this is such a great solution for them. Sort of, it's right in the middle between wasting all your money and wasting all your time and giving up, right? And so it's like perfectly placed there. Thank you so much for your time.